Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Lambert, the editor of the LVN newsletter, and this month we are shining our spotlight on the co-chairs of the LVN Education Committee. Levi Remley is the director of pricing at Barnes and Thornburg in Indianapolis, and Sarah McCormick is the director of legal service delivery at Honigman LLP in Michigan. So, Levi and Sarah, thank you both for joining me and letting me shine the spotlight on the great things that you're doing at LVN.
It's great to be
Thank you for having us, Greg.
All right. Well, Levi, let's start with you. What's one of the aspects of your professional work that you find really rewarding?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a long wind-up on this.
All right.
Like so many people, I didn't foresee myself working at a law firm. I had a very entrepreneurial itch in my undergraduate time, and thought I wanted to get into startups, thought I wanted to go that route, really liked the idea. I really like building things from the ground up, if you will. Kind of pivoted, thought I wanted to get into startups, rerouted, and I found myself kind of in an entrepreneurial role with B&T, and I've been here ever since, coming up on 8 years now. What I find rewarding really is it's the building of the plane, right? I've been doing this coming up on 8 years now. There's still so much more that we can do to make it a more robust, more mature function at the firm, provide more value and all of those things. So the days where I'm able to continue building upon what we've already built those are my best days.
Yeah. It's nice when you walk away at the end of the day and you feel like you've accomplished something, right?
Yeah, no doubt. It's just the machine's more efficient.
Yeah. And Sarah, how about you there at Honigman? What do you find rewarding?
Yeah, so like Levi, I went to law school and I didn't envision myself actually working at a law firm. If you ask my family, they envisioned me like on the front page of the news, like representing the largest celebrities, but I don't think they realized I wasn't that smart. But I started at Honigman right out of law school. So I took a different path when I was in law school, and I took a curriculum that was totally based on alternative legal careers. And I started right out of the gate in a legal project management role. I then left Honigman and have since returned. And the best thing that I love is the path that I have to kind of create and, design this vision and then execute on the vision and watch it all play out. I'm also a huge relationship person, so I enjoy building relationships and continuing to build them. Like I said, I was at the firm before and I had relationships in the position that I was in then. And then when I came back, I was able to pick those relationships up and kind of mold them now into the types of things that I'm working on now, which are a little bit different than what I was working on a couple years ago. So the creativity and every day bringing something new, whether it's technology, project management, process improvement, those are all things that I work on. And so that gives me a lot of opportunity to kind of pick what I want to work on for the day instead of coming in and doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I know at my firm we've had a number of people that have gone somewhere else and then have come back, and we call that the grass is not always greener club. Do they have a name for those folks at your firm?
Yeah, they call us boomerangs, and there's quite a few of us. Boomerangs. There is quite a few of us, but I would also put it into the grass is not always greener category as well.
We call them boomerangs as well.
Yeah.
Just to build on what Sarah's, being able to say, wouldn't it be nice kind of thing? Like, wouldn't it be nice if we could do X and then it's a long burn, right? But 2-3 years down the road, like you look back, it's like, hey, we had this idea, we actually did it, we executed on it, and things are so much more robust. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Levi would probably agree that we both have leadership that supports us in that, and being able to pitch something and, obviously having all the supporting information and data that goes along with pitching something, and then being able to execute on it is super rewarding.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears and Sarah, on a personal side, what's something that you enjoy doing, away from work, a hobby or a passion that you have?
Yeah, so there's two main things I enjoy doing. One is serving on the board of directors for an animal shelter. I'm super passionate about dogs in particular. I have 3 of my own. And then second is I'm an avid pickleball player, which I picked up last year. I really enjoy it, though, because you can't judge any book by its cover in pickleball. You never know who's totally gonna kick your butt in a game or who's not. And so being able to go and play, and it ends up being a great workout at the end of the day. So those are the two things I spent a lot of my personal time doing.
Excellent. Levi, how about you?
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind, I'm on still very heavily involved with my alma mater in a somewhat formal capacity as an alumni ambassador, part of the alumni council there. So that soaks up a lot of my free time. You know, I'm married.
And what university is that?
It's Franklin College. It is. We are trying to build our ranks of Franklin within Barnes and Thornburg. We've got Jared Applegate, my boss, went there. Got another person on my team, another person in our legal ops group. So it's slept on. I promise you that. They have a very, very strong business program. Still very involved there. Wife, are married, no kids, so we love to travel, do all those things. I love pickleball. Probably not as good as Sarah at it, but very much enjoy playing it. So yeah.
Well, we'll have to have the Michigan Indiana rivalry in pickleball. Maybe you guys
at the next LVN.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'll bring my paddle.
If only it was in the summer, because it's so much easier to find a place to play.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's get back to your roles at the LVN Education Committee. So, within your role, you have exclusive insights into the upcoming offerings from LVN. Levi, do you mind starting us off and talking about some of the programming that we should expect in 2024?
Yeah, to start 2024 off, we've got a session coming up, likely late March, maybe early April, depending on aligning schedules, but it'll be focused on law schools, how they work with firms, needs that firms are experiencing, professional development, all those kind of things. But looking further into 2024, I think we'll see. It's funny that you asked, because we met with our committee recently, and there was clearly just an appetite for change in the way that content is consumed. So while we do have a roadmap and staples that we want to hit on throughout the year, I think you'll see a little bit of a different approach, if you will, of how we deliver content to our community.
Sarah, anything to add?
Yeah, just to add on to what Levi's saying, looking at ways to deliver content differently, but also making sure that we are highlighting new speakers in the space, and keeping that content fresh and new from new faces is another goal this year.
Okay. Is there anything behind the scenes that members may not know goes on with the LVN Education Committee?
I would say, taking the opportunity, the opportunity for building relationships with others in the industry is a huge one. When you're testing out, for example, a new tech tool, and then you have the ability to call up so-and-so who's in the committee with you that uses that tool, that just provides a greater opportunity for education, not putting on education, but education between each other and what they're doing and how they're building their programs at their various organizations as well.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, Sarah, I think so much of LVN's educational content is created by LVN for LVN, and those subject matter experts are your peers, right? Like the people on these committees, the people who are presenting, they're part of the LVN community, and as just being a member, you have access to reach out to these individuals. You've got their emails, you've got past webinars all codified into the database. There's hours and hours of content you can access in there. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity to be involved in this committee for sure.
Yeah, and Levi, you I think you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but want you to kind of predict what you see are some of the future trends, and particularly in the context of LVN's mission. What trends do you see shaping the landscape, especially when it comes to how we produce educational materials?
Yeah, I think one of the trends that you'll see is that there's an appetite to have more candid conversations with your community members, and I think it's a different way of engaging educational content, right? It's not the traditional panel style, presentation style format. It's more of a, hey, we've got this particular issue. I want to be around my peers and maybe discuss this particular topic. I could foresee that being something well received by our community.
And Sarah?
Yeah, so one thing that has been popping up in a lot of conversations, because I've been on the committee for 3 years now, and this year over year has been brought up, is this idea of mentorship. And looking at the LVN mission, mentorship is mentioned. And I think while not a education committee thing to solve necessarily, I think the fact that everyone's talking about it and wants more of it is something that hopefully we can look forward to in the future.
Excellent. Well, Sarah McCormick and Levi Remley, the pickleball champions from your respective regions, thank you very much for letting us shine the LVN spotlight on you this month.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.